I love corn. And during the summer, there's no better way to enjoy it than with Mexican street corn. It's simple with only a few ingredients and tastes incredible. We're going to start off by making a lime butter. So in a small bowl, combine a few spoonfuls of butter along with a lime. We're going to be using both the zest and the juice of an entire lime. Season with kosher salt and freshly cracked black pepper. Now, despite being in a heat wave at the moment, my room temperature butter was still fairly hard, so since I don't own a microwave. The next thing we'll need is some mayonnaise, but instead of plain old mayo, I like using Japanese or Kewpie mayo. But we're actually going to go one step further and make our own. You can use a food processor for this, or even better still, a blender, since it has more powerful blades. But personally, I think the best option is an immersion blender. They're cheaper than the other two, and it's much easier to make smaller amounts. Now, if you've never made mayo before, don't stress out, it's a lot easier than you think. The first thing we'll need is a couple egg yolks. There are lots of different ways to separate them, but personally, I think fingers work best. Add a pinch of kosher salt and some Dijon mustard. The Dijon acts as an emulsifier that will help everything bind together. We'll also need some sugar and rice vinegar. Now, the biggest difference between standard mayo and Japanese mayo is the addition of dashi stock. But we're actually going to be subbing kimchi juice instead, which will give us the same umami and natural MSG that makes dashi so good, but kimchi. Add just enough of a neutral oil, like canola, to fully submerge the blades of the blender, then continuously add the oil while blending on high. After a minute or so, it'll lighten in color and thicken substantially, and then boom, kimchi Kewpie mayo. Street corn is traditionally coated in crumbled cotija cheese, but if you're unable to find any, feta works just as well. It just needs to be firm and salty. A food processor is probably much better for this, and you'll get a much more even texture, but then you won't get to make a giant mess, and really, where's the fun in that? The last thing we'll need is a couple limes for garnish. Now for the corn, there's a few ways you can go at this, but I'm going to show you how I like doing mine. Because at the end of the day,
you're Tristan Petrash. I'm the Michaelated.
This sounds funny, but you do you.
Get you, brother!
Yeah, what the Michaelated said. I'm pulling all of the outer husk down, but not off, then removing the silk. This next part is a bit tricky, and as you can clearly see, I kinda sucked at it, but that's okay. But all I'm doing is tying the husk around itself to hold everything back and away from the corn. Not only does it look prettier when it's all done, but the husk will act like a handle while you eat. The last step before hitting the grill is to thoroughly baste the corn with the lime butter. You definitely want to go heavy with the butter since a lot of it is going to come off as it cooks. I'm using hardwood lump charcoal as it's going to get really hot, around 550 degrees Fahrenheit, plus it's going to give the corn a nice amount of flavor. Place the hot coals to one side to allow for indirect heat. Then place the corn opposite to the coals. Totally optional, but I'm throwing a handful of mesquite wood chips on the coals, then covering with the lid and smoking the corn for a good 5 minutes. The corn will also be fully cooked at this point. Then it's just a matter of charring the corn and giving it some color. Just avoid placing the now dry husks over the heat. You don't have to go crazy with this, but you definitely want a good amount of char on them. Remove the corn from the heat and then add the sliced limes until they've started to char and caramelize. Doing this will make them nice and sweet. Transfer everything to a tray, and let's head back inside. While the corn is still nice and hot, aggressively baste them with the kimchi mayo. There is no such thing as too much here. Trust me on this. Then coat with the crumbled cheese, turning and coating all sides. To finish them off, you'd commonly use a nicely flavored chili powder, but since I'm me, I'm going with gochugaru, Korean hot pepper flakes. Sprinkle a small amount on all sides, then bust out your fanciest serving dish and top with some roughly chopped fresh cilantro and the grilled lime. And that's it, Mexican street corn with a Korean twist. The smokiness coming off these corn is literally to die for. And the combination of the funky sour kimchi mayo, salty cheese, and just a little hot gochugaru is just, ugh. Big thanks to the Michaelated podcast for sending in their best You Do You. I highly recommend checking out his channel, and not just because yours truly has been on it twice, but it doesn't hurt. If you'd like to appear in an episode, send your best You Do You to tristanpetrash@gmail.com or in a DM to my Instagram account. And if you like my content and are interested in supporting my channel, you can check out my Ko-fi page. I'll leave a link to that as well as the Michaelated podcast in the description. And don't forget to like and subscribe, it really helps the channel. Thanks for watching, stay awesome, and here's the full, unedited, Michaelated clip.
Tristan.
Oh, he says sick.
You do you. If you would be Predator and I would be Arnold, I would come and get you. You.
But you're Tristan P. Trash. I'm the Michaelated.
This sounds funny, but you do you.
Get you, brother!